His name is Curt, a really funny guy, and this is his podcast, In the Rye. It's the In the Rye Podcast. Curt Fletcher.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's episode 68 In the Rye Podcast with Curt Fletcher. Today I'm going to have a comedian that I've known for several years on the show. He is a skydiver as well, and a very funny guy. I've known him for, I want to say 15 years now. Probably. Super nice guy, very funny. Let's go talk to Ron Ferguson, everybody. Ron Ferguson, what's up, buddy?
Good morning, good afternoon.
Good to see you, man.
You too. Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while. I can't remember last time we saw each other. I was trying to think of that. It was probably in Denver.
Yeah.
I want to say it was at maybe Bob Meadows' gig at the country club.
Oh, yeah. I think
Maybe.
you're right. Yeah.
So that's been a few years.
Well,
for
we
sure.
I did a guest set in Phoenix with you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
the Stir Crazy.
Stir Crazy, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Man, ever since 2020, I get my get everything all mixed up.
I think we all do.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where I've been.
Yep.
Man, yeah. So I was thinking about, because we've known each other now for at least 15 years, right?
Yeah. It's been a
That's
while.
pretty cool. So I was thinking we probably met like in 2004 or 5 at Laughs.
Yeah.
And then I think the first time I ever went to Denver to do shows was probably 2005. And we got to hang out a little bit then. And then I moved to Denver in 2009. When did you start comedy? You started in 2000, 2001?
Yeah, 2001. It was started a couple weeks before 9/11, and then 9/11 happened, and I was like, guess all the funny's gone out of the world.
Dude, that's crazy. I started the exact same time. I started August 5th, 2001.
Yeah, so good timing.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it was crazy because
It's a comedy boom.
yeah. Yeah, I remember Freddie Charles was doing a lot of like Arab material back then because he's Arab, and
Right.
so the first time I ever saw him, he was doing a bunch of Arab material, and then the next time I saw him, it was like totally different. He had to rewrite his act pretty much.
Yeah, it's weird American flag.
Yeah.
Do it for the troops. Well, Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy, man. Yeah, because when I started, I started doing. I did my first open mic at Laughs, and then did a couple guest sets, and then 9/11 happened, and the guest sets stopped happening, and then I moved to California for a few months, and then didn't do any stand up there. Like when you started, were there a bunch of open mics in Denver at the time?
Yeah, there was. It was a pretty fun group of people I started with. Matt Connie, Chris McFerrin, John Rashke, and Josh Blue. So yeah, it was a strong community, a lot of stage time available.
Man,
So yeah, we were pretty supportive community, and yeah, it was a good time.
that's cool, man.
We had
Yeah, I was talking about on my last podcast when I started. We only had one open mic a month, and it was at Laughs.
Yeah.
So it was pretty rough starting out, and but it was cool over the years. I started hosting at Laughs and things like that. But we used to have a ton of Denver comics come down. So like when Laughs closed, we decided to move to Denver because I knew a lot of comics there. So and it was still pretty close to my family and things like that. So it was cool to go to Denver and have a lot of friends there already and stuff like that. And all the comics that came down from Denver are always really cool. And
Right.
Then when I moved to Denver, I met a lot of the other cool comics, and like you were always really cool. Lori Callahan always took me on the road with her and stuff, and
Right.
Baxley was always cool. So
Yeah, it was fun. That whole corridor from Albuquerque to Colorado Springs to Denver.
hmm
Denver comics, Albuquerque comics, shuffling back and forth.
yeah,
That's really
yeah.
cool.
The Colorado Springs scene has really grown a lot lately too. Because Looney's was the first club I ever did on the road, and it seemed like they didn't have a local scene at all in Colorado Springs back then. I think
Right.
it was 2003 the first time I went to Looney's, like late 2003. And yeah, I don't remember any of the locals really. I think Paul Cardoza
Hmm.
is really the only one I could remember from back then.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still doing it out down south there, or up north, or
Oh yeah.
out east, west, however you relate to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really grown. It's really Larry and Lila days to now.
Yeah.
It's cool to see it grow and sustain itself. And
Yeah. Yeah. They've got 2 clubs in that town now. That's kind of crazy.
right.
Do you remember where your first open mic was?
Yeah, I do. I do remember that nightmare. It was
Yeah.
well, it was, I was at the bar after work. I worked at Hugh M. Woods in the lumber yard when I first moved to Colorado, and we were at the bar called Ristow's. That's in Sheridan and Evans in Denver, and I was with my friend Galvin after work, and they had a comedy contest. He's like, "Hey, you're funny, because you should go up." And I was like, "I'm not going up." And they said the winner is going to get $100 bar tab. I'm like, "Hold my beer." So, so, I wrote like a few jokes. I've always been a fan of stand-up comedy ever since I was pretty young teen, and I wrote a few jokes, and I went up there and I got some laughs, and I understood setups and punchlines, so it was very basic set. And this other guy went up there and he just did street jokes. The priest walks into the bar, and my father says to the rabbi, like, and he won. So that was my time. So it was good to bite the bug. I caught the bug then after I got.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, wow, that was fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've heard a few stories like that where it's just you kind of just get pushed into it.
Right.
With me, yeah, it took like I always wanted to do it, and it took me several months to get the balls to finally do it, and then I gave myself 4 months to actually write a set and actually go do it. And
Now was at Laughs your first
yeah,
time?
that was at Laughs. Yeah, yeah. I had a bunch of people come and support me and stuff, so that was cool. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't have done it if someone was just like, "Hey, you should go out there. You're funny." Like, fuck you.
Right. Yeah. I didn't want any support because I was embarrassed. I always used to wear a hat, and I never looked at the crowd and
Uh-huh.
like kind of the Stephen Wright delivery where I just say my jokes
How funny, yeah.
because I was a really strong writer and I cut the fat and all that stuff. And then
Yeah.
after like 3 months, I started inviting friends and family. They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah. They're like, "You're really good." I'm like, "I'm a natural." And of course, I've been doing it 3 months.
That's funny because like I always thought you and I had similar styles and stuff like that. Because we do a lot of wordplay and one-liners and stuff like that. I actually, I was very similar. I never looked at the crowd. I would pace around the stage. I would just stare straight down at the stage. Wouldn't look up at all. The first time I performed, I was wearing I had like a beanie on. So I used that to cover my eyes so I couldn't see anybody. And then I had like a giant Garfield clock too, which was stupid. But yeah, I never looked at the crowd until I was working. I got booked in Tucson at Laughs in December 2003. That was the second club I ever worked on the road. And I was working with J.R. Brow. And back then, the Tucson club was Tuesday through Saturday. So you're doing, 7 or 8 shows throughout the week. And the Saturday late show JR, he comes up to me, he goes, like right before the show starts, he goes, "Hey, you should do your set standing completely still. Like just stand at the microphone and just stand there. Just stand there and tell your jokes." And I was like, "I don't know if I can." He's like, "Just do it." And he's like, "Trust me, it'll be way better." And I was like, "Okay." And I did it, and like just it was so much better. Like it was so hard, like looking at the crowd and stuff like that. But I kind of like just looked off in the back of the room. You know what I mean? And but it worked so much better. Like I had such a good set that night, and I noticed that my punchlines hit harder, and we talked after the show, and he was just telling me how I would start a joke and I was like over on this side of the stage, and then by the time I'm at the punchline, I'm over here and I'm not looking at anybody, and
Right.
it just it didn't hit as hard, since I wasn't making eye contact and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was really helpful.
That's one thing that's important when you first start out, and even for anyone at any level or you're there into it, is feedback. So I used to record every show. I write down every joke. Then I watch my recording. Then as I said the joke, I listened for the audience reaction, and I rate it 1 to 5 stars. Then go to the next joke. He's meticulous. And then I do the next evening, and then just go on. And I take all the 3 and 5 stars, put those to the front.
Uh-huh.
And then the 1 and 2 stars, I get rid of those. And I just built a set. And next thing you know, I had all these 3 to 5 star reactions.
Oh, that's cool.
5 minutes, yeah.
I actually started doing that later on when I got a camera too. It was quite a few years after I started, but yeah, I used to have a rating system, and I was actually doing it up until the last couple of years. But it definitely helps, man. Especially like I used to track what jokes would do well in certain places, so I could go back to that list and like for example, if I'm going to Birmingham or something, I could pull out my list and see what jokes didn't really hit there, and just take them out for that week or whatever, and just do the stronger stuff. Yeah.
I had a lot of jokes that wouldn't work for everything from east of the Mississippi for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, this must be a Canadian crowd.
Yeah.
It's worked in a year.
Yeah.
One time
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I did real quick story. I did Amarillo, Texas. The brothers, I forgot who ran that.
Oh, the Moran.
Moran, yes. Rest in peace. I did my set. I got off stage, bombed, didn't do well on any joke. He's like, "What? Why do you talk so fast?" I said, "Well, I'm just talking. We talk so fast." He goes, "Man, we can't even understand you. Nobody can understand you. Where are you from? New York? Why do you talk so fast?" So I'm just talking. I'm from Michigan. I'm just talking. So the next set, I slowed it down, like consciously slowed it down. And it did well, and I was getting laughs, and it worked. So
that's interesting. Yeah, that happened to me in Birmingham a couple of years ago, and the first time it ever happened was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was doing the Looney Bin there. I remember talking to Russ on the phone because it was my first time performing in Oklahoma, and I remember talking to Russ on the phone, and he was I was telling him I was kind of struggling in Tulsa, and he told me to talk slower, and I was like, okay. He's like, people in Oklahoma or in the Midwest like to hear how people talk. And I thought he was full of shit at first, and I was like, okay. And then I tried it, and it went way, way better.
Right.
It's so crazy how just like slowing down a little bit helps that much.
It's like Oklahoma, Birmingham, Texas. It's like the whole country. Never in New York City or Chicago.
Yeah.
So I was in Mississippi.
Little Rock, it doesn't matter though. You can talk as slow as you want, and they still stare at you. Have you performed in Little Rock?
No.
I can imagine. I think they would stare at you a lot. It was funny because the old club owner Jeff Jones, he always picked on me when I was there. He the first time I performed there, he was like, he's like, it's so funny watching the crowd react to your material because they'll sit there and stare at you, and then you'll start your next joke, and then they'll start laughing like they're 4 seconds behind or something like that. And then the last time I ever saw Jeff, he passed away a couple years ago, but I was performing there, and I walk into the office, and he was there, and he's like, yeah, I walked in the club, and the crowd wasn't laughing, so I knew Curt was on stage.
Yeah.
Those are pretty fun crowds, but yeah, they're kind of slow.
Right. Yeah. It's different. It's interesting, like you said, how different cadences work in different parts of the country and different different kind of material. But I don't care anymore. I just say what I'm going to say, and
Yeah.
It's all about timing and delivery and starting out, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's cool you started out in Denver. Denver's always had a great scene ever since the first time I went there was 2005, and man, I was only there for a couple days or whatever, but I did like 4 or 5 shows, and I just remember the amount of talent there was insane,
Right.
especially coming from Albuquerque, especially at that time, because we hardly had a scene at all, and it's just it's never, the talent level has never dipped at all in Denver. It just seems like it's always been strong, even when some of the comics move off to LA or bigger cities. There's still like a group of comics that come up that are just really talented. So it's cool to be in that environment.
I think it's important too, because you can watch comedy and study comedy, but when your peers are really good, like we had Tig Notaro and Nancy Norton and Chris McFerrin and Josh Blue, and when you were working amongst that talent, open mics, we're all starting together. We started with Matt Connie and all those guys, and it's really pushes you too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they're showing up like 3 or 4 new jokes, and you're showing up with the same stuff, or they're killing it, and you have to follow them. And so it's competitive, but it's also supportive. So it's nice to have. If you're doing well amongst mediocrity, then I think that could be a hindrance, of course. But when you have these powerhouses coming out,
for sure,
yeah, it's a blessing in disguise. So,
yeah. It was tough in Albuquerque, having such a small scene, because there was no one there to really push you to get better or do better. Because there was only like 2 or 3 of us that were like hosting regularly at Laughs. So that was kind of crazy. Because I was only like a few years in, and I was already one of the best comics in town. Like if I had started out in like Denver or LA or something like that, I wouldn't even be in the top 100 probably.
I think you're pretty. You had that quick wit, like you said, the one-liners and stuff. You just had that. People like that always will. They'll always be in style.
Yeah, that's true.
Laughter.
What's that?
Laughter. Punchlines.
Yeah.
It's always
it's like sometimes I wish I had started out in a bigger scene, but I've mentioned a lot of times that starting out at this club, I was able to get a lot of work there, and Russ was really helpful in since he was a comic as well. Like he taught me a lot of stuff, and he really like took me under his wing, and took me on the road and taught me things not to do and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool.
Russ and Scotty too, right?
Scotty wasn't around. He was in Tucson, and he banned me from Tucson for a couple years.
That's the next topic.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking about it today. One of the funnest shows I ever did in my life was actually with you and Russ at Wits End. I don't know if you remember this or not, but there was a blizzard, and Don was going to cancel the late show because like 9 people showed up, 8 or 9 people, and Russ talked him into letting us do the show. And instead of doing like the typical stand-up show, we the three of us sat on stage and just kind of told stories from the road and some fucked up jokes that we would normally not tell on stage. Do you remember that?
I do remember. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Don Mary Kay allowed us. Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was
That was a blast, man. I actually got an email from a guy after that show. He said he said it was one of the funnest shows he's ever been to, and he's glad he drove through the blizzard to be there and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Russ was always adventurous like that. I did a show in Laughs in Albuquerque. I was hosting, and he was going on. You know, how Russ gets. He goes on and do 90 minutes and still like warming him up.
Yeah.
He do his jokes yet, and I'm like at the edge. What are you doing? Get out of the way! I'm at the side of the stage. Like, well, actually, come on up here. Come on up here. Something to hold. I'm like, oh, hey, give it up for us. He's like, yeah, give it up for us. So now I'm on stage. So we do now we're just bantering, like you were talking about, bringing people on stage. I mean, it was like a party. It was just Russ always brings that good energy. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was always like it was good and bad opening for him at the club. It was bad because you never knew when he was going to finish, so you always had to be paying attention. But it was good for me because we would do 2 shows on Saturday, and so he would do like a cleaner set on the early show Saturday, but then he would invite the entire crowd to come back for the late show, and a lot of them would come back. And then for me, it was like, well, shit, they just saw me do this fucking 15 minutes. So I've got to do new shit. Otherwise, they're just going to stare at me. So it kind of forced me to like, step out of my comfort zone a little bit and try the new stuff, or just kind of not really do crowd work, but kind of, riff on some shit that I was kind of working on. So that was kind of cool. Some of it didn't work out very well, but it was only 15 minutes. But I mean, back then it seemed like a lot longer than 15 minutes. That's for sure.
Yeah. It was his first couple years were challenging.
Yeah.
I'd be out on the road. One time I was out on the road and I ate shit for like 28 minutes of the 30, and and I called my friend Kermit Holiday, who I used to work with kind of on a regular basis. He worked with Mitch Hedberg and stuff.
Oh, nice.
So I called him and I said, I'm just eating shit out here on the road. I have another show tonight. I don't know what should I do. He's like, all right, tell me your jokes. I go, okay. Like one of my jokes, he's like, not one of your, like, tell me your jokes. You have a set. He was just start doing your jokes. So I had my set list and I started saying my jokes. Like, and it just felt awkward. And he said, don't stop. Just say your jokes. So I start reading my jokes. Then after like 2 minutes, he's like, okay, stop. He goes, can you read your jokes? And can you just read for like 30 minutes? You could read your jokes for 30 minutes. I said, yeah. Let's just go up there, just say your jokes. And then they're going to laugh. He goes, you're just getting nervous and you're skipping around and all this stuff. So I did that one on stage and just started. I stopped thinking about my performance, and if they're going to laugh, I just started saying my jokes. I hear a laugh, and it just re-energized me, and it worked. So it's tough on the road. Yeah,
that's interesting. When did you start going on the road?
The following year, the way I started stand-up comedy. Well, I did that first show at Rostow's, and then on time I was at Kinko's, and I was getting some copies made. I opened the printer for the copy machine. There was a flyer in there from Jimmy Abeda. Said, "You want to try stand-up comedy? Come here on Saturday." And so I called the number. I think it was his pager actually. So I paged him or something, and he called. And so I went there, started doing shows with him everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He had a sound system in his car or a PA system, so we'd stop and do parking lots and house parties. He just all the time. Then I moved in with him. So within 6 months, the first 6 months, I was was constantly working.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was downtown Comedy Works, and then Jeff Wosier approached me and said, "How much time do you have?" I said, "How much do you need?" He said, 15. He said, "Okay, I have a paid gig for you at Looney's Comedy Corner." I said, "What's that?" Colorado Springs. So from that point on, I started doing, I did Looney's. And at that, around that time, I met Chris Fonseca. So I was probably like 8 months in, and that's when I really hit the road hard, is when I met
Oh, wow.
Fonseca. Because Fonseca was working clubs with Ken Muller, just all these funny bones and the jukebox in Peoria and improvs. So I went on the road with Chris, and we just jumped in my truck and just hit the road and just nonstop. I'd be gone for like 3 or 4 weeks at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was able to pay my rent because I was doing comedy, so I lost my place, and so yeah, it was a challenging time, but it was a fun time. So about 8 months in.
Oh yeah. The first year or so when you're starting to get on the road, it's so tough to make any money. I mean, it's still tough to make money doing it, but
Right.
yeah. How did you get linked up with Pablo Francisco?
Pablo came to Comedy Works. I was the door staff then, uh, and I wasn't. I decided to work at Comedy Works instead of doing stand-up comedy at Comedy Works before I signed up for Open New Talent Night with Tim O'Shea. So long story short, I was there one weekend working the door, and Pablo was the comic that weekend, and he got standing ovations every single show. I mean, he was just a machine up on stage. And then afterwards, we hung out, went to a bar afterwards and hung out, and then I saw him. He was at another club. Which club was it? And I went there to see him, and I said, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. I was the door staff at Comedy Works." And at that time, it was like a year later. At that time, I was doing comedy. So he said, "Hey, are you here to do a set?" Well, I wasn't planning on it, but he said, "Oh, go up there and do a set." So I went up there and did 5 minutes, and he watched my set. He said, "Yeah, do the next show too." I said, "All right." Then he said, "What are you doing next weekend?" I said, "No, that's the plan." He said, "Well, you should come out here and do this." So I went out there and did a whole weekend with them, and then we exchanged numbers and just hit the road with them from that point
That's
on.
awesome.
So Sean Savoy, Ashley Fizeme, Fonseca, Pablo. Yeah, he's always been good. He's always been fun to watch him kill. I mean, it's just such a different style of comedy, so it was refreshing to
Mm-hmm.
see him each show. He's just reckless abandon. You don't know what he's going to do next.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I went on the road with him for a couple of years and networked and met a lot of industry people. And so, yeah, it was been a fun
That's great.
ride. Yeah, we still chat. He called me last week and talks a mile a minute, and just
Oh yeah.
he's always.
Did you do Loonies with him recently?
I did guest set. He was there. It was already
Okay.
the week before that. I did Las Vegas with the Jimmy Kimmel Comedy Club.
Oh no shit.
The following week was Looney's, so we just hung out at Looney's.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine went to that show. She was sending me pictures from it, and Test was on the show.
Yep. Yeah, it was a strong show.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like Looney's is getting some bigger names in there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's cool to see Eric being able to. They said Nick. Was it Nick Swartzen or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
You heard about him almost dying on the way to Looney's one time, right? No?
No.
Oh shit. Yeah, Eric was telling me about it last time I was there, or maybe 2 times ago, but yeah, he was flying to Denver and had had some health issues and shit, so they had to take him to the hospital like right away when they landed.
Jeez.
And they thought he was gonna die. So they told him to like call his parents and shit, and his parents came out, and it was his sister and stuff like that, and yeah, they thought he was gonna die, and Eric didn't know what was going on because like nobody contacted him. So he just thought that Swartzen just bailed on him.
Oh, jeez.
And he didn't find out for a couple weeks after that, or a couple months or something.
Wow.
But yeah, he was pretty fucked up, and I forget what happened.
Right.
But yeah, he's good now, and
Yeah.
but yeah, they thought he was gonna die. Pretty
Yeah, there's
crazy.
been a couple clubs where there's been deaths
Yeah.
after the show or at the show. It's
Uh-huh.
weird when it happens, but then,
Yeah.
but
Do you remember when it was Tracy Morgan like passed out in the alley by Comedy Works or some shit?
remember that. I've had, throw people in. I mean, I had fun with Sean Rouse there, Tracy Morgan. So it's been good times.
Yeah, I never got to meet Sean Rouse. I always liked his comedy though. I heard a lot of stories about him.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of just the risk he would take. It was just endearing to see him, to see the underdog or a guy still. I mean, he was in so much pain at that time, and
Yeah.
with his arthritis and stuff. But it's cool to see an artist that still gets up there and does what he loves,
Mhm.
and walk half the crowd still.
Yeah.
Yeah, and first row would clear within the second joke.
Yeah.
It's so dark. But
Have you ever walked a crowd?
I haven't walked the crowd, but I've had members of the crowd come on stage to attack me. I think walking them would have been better.
Yeah.
No, I haven't really walked a crowd. I've had, constructive criticism, bad feedback, or whatever, but
Oh yeah.
never.
Do you remember a gig we did in Santa Fe and I walked half the crowd on my first joke?
At casino?
No, it was I don't remember what the place was, but I remember you and I had gone to the there was a film festival during the day, and we went and watched this movie called Searching for Beethoven, and I wrote a joke about it. And I opened with it that night, and half the crowd left.
Yeah, do you remember that? Do you remember what the joke was?
Yeah, I do, but I can't say it on here.
Yeah, it's fun,
Gonna walk my audience.
right? It's fun to have that power, and there's a lot. I still to this day I think of jokes and I'm like, damn, I can't say that on stage anywhere ever,
Yeah.
and I still write it down. Like one day,
Uh-huh.
I lost two. I'm gonna be up there and do them all. And well,
I did a show one time in Wisconsin. My brother had set it up. So my brother was in a death metal band in Wisconsin years ago, and one of his friends booked me on a couple shows, and like really really tiny towns in northern Wisconsin. One of them was at a campground. Like this campground had a bar there, and it was just like a one-man show. I went up there and I was crashing at the dude's house, and I'm not a big drinker at all, but so the show was I had some people come up before the show and like just tell their favorite jokes just to kind of get the crowd warmed up, so I didn't have to do like an hour with no crowd warm up. So I let that go on for about 15 minutes or so, and then felt like the crowd was pretty warmed up, so I went up and did like an hour, and they started sending me beers and stuff, and I used to like to drink Coronas with shots of Bacardi Limon in them. So they're like sending me those. I think I had like 6 throughout my set, and it fucked me up pretty good. And I remember the set, and it went pretty well. And then I remember like we started playing pool after the show, and then that's all I remember from the rest of the night. And then so the next day I find out that I'd done another set that night, and I don't remember any of it. I guess like I guess I went back up there. Someone talked me into going back up there, and I had my notebook, and I just told every single joke in my notebook that I hadn't told yet. So it was like another like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what was in that.
Right.
But it was funny because the next day when we are driving to the other gig, the guy mentioned one of my jokes, and I was just like, "How do you know that joke?" And he goes, "You told it last night." And I was like, "No, I didn't." He's like, "Yeah, you did." And I was like, "Man, maybe I did, because there's no way he would know that joke because I've never told it."
Right. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
He's like,
So
no,
then it was just like, okay,
How do you
I
know
did
that?
an hour, so maybe I forgot. And then he quoted another one of my jokes, and I was like, okay, I know I didn't tell that joke last night. And he's like, yeah, you did. And I was like, man, I don't remember telling that joke. And he goes, do you remember not going back on stage after we played pool? I was like, nope.
Wow.
And I was like, can you at least tell me which one's got good laughs and shit?
Right. He's like, oh, and here's your book back. That's what a job. It's what a job where you can go to work, take a break, get hammered, and they're like, go back to work.
Yeah.
Let's see more. No other job where you can do that. I'm going to have some. I'm going to my lunch break. Just go back.
Well, I think Harry Carey used to do that during Cubs games. He would do like the first 3 innings, and then he'd disappear for a few innings, and then he'd come back for the 7th inning stretch and sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and he's all fucked up.
Right. Babe Ruth stuff, yeah.
But yeah, man, it was crazy. I wish someone would have recorded it just so I could see, like which jokes hit and which ones didn't. But that's the only set that I can not remember ever doing. And I've only blacked out a couple times from drinking. Another time was in Casper, Wyoming. I was doing a gig with Jake Sharon up there, and
that's a recipe for blackout.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember waking up and looking on Facebook, and I was like, I was tagged in a bunch of photos, and I was like, fuck, I don't remember any of these. I don't remember these people at all.
Yeah. Yeah, those small towns are wild.
Yeah.
Get off stage and they have
yeah.
fracking money. And they're just like, come on down to my pickup truck and
oh yeah.
the case.
Yeah, it seems like there aren't as many of those anymore, like the crazy one-nighters like that. Seems like they've kind of disappeared.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun. Tribble runs at CW Kendall, and
yeah,
man, those were really get your chops back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We'd wake up in the morning and just decide, like, okay, I got paid $100, but I spent 80 of it at the bar. So I need gas to get. We have to drive 7 hours today to the next show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Some crazy gigs, man. I do kind of miss them though. I don't know. I don't know. We got to perform in a lot of just weird little towns that you'd never get to even see unless you're performing there,
Yeah. Went on the road with Baxley for a while there, and then Fonseca, of course, and then
yeah,
Steve Gastineau, and what was the other name?
Is Steve still doing comedy? Do you know?
I haven't seen him in a while. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's a guy I didn't really get to know until I moved to Denver. I don't know if he ever came down to Laughs here or not, but I started to get to know him a little bit at Wits End and stuff, and I always liked him a lot. He was really cool.
Yeah. All those guys are cool.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good to work with him because he had a party as hard as everyone else. So
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like it is nowadays.
What's that?
No, it's not like it now. Back then, nowadays, it's not like it used to be. But
yeah, it's so different now. Like even the crowds are different. in my opinion, anyway. I feel like they're the crowds are kind of dumber now, and can't get away with as much shit in some places.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
Have you noticed that at all, or no?
yeah, yeah. There's sometimes I love some jokes that I just trick them and then just kind of lays there. But I'm like, oh shit, these
Yeah,
guys really don't get it. And I don't know. There's so much coming at us nowadays with social
hmm
media and everything. I think back then it was more. You didn't have to know as you had to know more. That nowadays you don't have to know as much and stuff. And yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I wouldn't say
yeah,
maybe not dumber. They're just not as privy to you know topics and stuff, or even sometimes open minded too.
yeah. I could see that for sure. Um, yeah, I feel like people's attention spans are different. Um,
Yeah.
it's it makes it harder to do callbacks now sometimes. Um, or you got to do it sooner in your set rather than later. Uh, because that could be an alcohol issue, maybe
Yeah,
not so much a attention span issue.
yeah,
Or I guess just depends on where, like Little Rock,
yeah.
callbacks do not go well there.
Remember, I remember back in the days when a callback was your closer
Yeah, right.
from the first joke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you have any desire to record like an album or a special or anything like that?
yeah. I'm working on that now. I
Oh,
have,
really?
yeah, the process of writing it. I've always been I've always had fun writing jokes, and they come to me naturally. I have boxes and boxes and boxes of jokes, and just dolly loads of jokes. But I'm right my approaching it with a different perspective. So I have a pretty unique life, and I
Hmm.
don't really talk about it on stage. So
Yeah.
I'm bringing that to light, and it's because I'm the old school comic where I'm looking at LPMs, laughs per minute, I'm trying to get
Yep.
4 to 6 LPMs, and I'm writing in
Do you
that.
keep track of that too? I do.
I do, yeah, yeah. You have a guest set. You're doing 7 minutes tonight. All right, that's 42 laughs. That's 6 laughs in in the Mexico joke, 4 laughs in the relationship. Yeah, so
Yeah.
because I want them to laugh and have fun, and also gives
Yeah.
me that confidence too when I'm
Hmm.
in that mode. So that's how we started. And
Yeah.
it's been remember the Jackie the Joke Martling?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, type of not that fast, but I've always been a
Yeah.
fan of punchlines. so
Hmm.
so my new special, I'm writing about my experiences and traveling and stuff, and about growing up and some of my experiences I've had, in my hobbies and stuff. So I really don't talk about that on stage, but yeah, I'm in the process of writing that, and
That's great, man. That's really cool.
yeah,
I'm
talk,
excited to hear that stuff because I'm kind of the same way. Well, I'll just write jokes that they're inspired by life events or whatever, but they're really not specifically like that in my act. Where people won't, at the end of my set, they're like, wow, I don't know shit about this dude.
right.
Uh, he's got some funny jokes, but I don't know shit about him. Yeah.
Yeah, I I've been told by industry to do that. I'll walk off stage like, we really don't know you. I'm like, well, my job. This isn't an interview. I don't know why it's important to know me, but
Yeah.
crowd was laughing. They're like, yeah, but so I think that's changed. People want to walk away and know you.
Yeah. I've always heard that where where crowd members, they, you know, obviously they want you to be funny, but they want to know more about you. And like, I've always had a hard time, writing stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I just don't like sharing shit like that with people, I guess.
Right.
Like I don't talk about being married at all on stage. And I was married. I got divorced and all that shit, And
Yeah.
I don't even talk about that stuff on stage.
Right. I know some of my favorites are Stephen Wright. I really don't know much about him.
Yeah.
Um, Jim Jeffries, Bill Burr, of course, and Brian Regan. You really don't know much about him. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's a rule to be a great comic that you have to reveal much of yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable doing it now, not because I have to or should.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just comfortable. Some of the stories that really still rile me up, like some skydiving jokes and traveling jokes and
Yeah.
things about my upbringing I really haven't revealed. So
Mm-hmm.
just because I want to do it now because I should.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. Like I would love to talk about that stuff, but it's like I um I guess it's like I don't want to talk about other people really in my set. I guess I've been kind of doing it lately. Like I've got some jokes about my nephews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like some true stories about them. So I guess I kind of have been doing it, and I didn't even think about it. But I really should. Like because my dad was he was a terrible dad, but he was kind of a character. Like. And I always told my friends, like, man, if everyone knew who my dad was, like, I'd probably be a millionaire. I could write so much shit about him,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. I find it fun, right? Because as I'm writing the special, I'm writing about people and I'm using their real names. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So when I see them, like recently, see
Uh-huh.
them like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, how you doing? Like, good. I'm just looking. I'm like, oh, a year from now, you're gonna think of me differently. I guarantee
Yeah.
that.
Have you ever had an instance where you did a joke about somebody and they didn't like it?
uh, let's see. That'd probably be more of a down the alley of a girlfriend type joke.
Yeah.
No, no, not really.
Okay.
I had some girlfriends, like, what's that about? I'm like, but no, I can't think of anything. My parents used to come to my shows a lot. I do a lot of jokes about being adopted. Of course, they're
Uh-huh.
jokes. My parents would eat that up, so they love it. They bring it up at
Oh, yeah.
dinner table. Oh, Ron over here, tell him about how fat I am. Ah, Mom, it's a joke. You're not fat.
Yeah.
Oh, how I used to beat you. Like, Mom. So, but no, I can't really offend many people. But
Yeah, I only I had it happen once that I remember. Um and
family or friend?
it was a lady friend that I was kind of dating at the time, and I told the joke. It was I was like, yeah, I was playing with this girl's nipples the other day, and she's like, "What are you doing? Tuning the radio?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I found the bitch station." And so I told that joke at Laughs one night, and I get a text message from the girl, and she goes, "You're an asshole," and I was like, "The fuck."
Right.
So I was like confused, and I was like, but her friend worked there as the door girl, and I was like, oh shit, maybe
Oh.
she told her the joke, and then I was like, well, how would she know this was about her though? You know what I mean? And so I texted her, I was like, hey, did so and so tell you? And she's like, no, I'm at the show, dumbass. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Didn't even know she was there, and I was making a joke about her.
Yeah.
So
That'll
that
do
was
it.
weird.
Hard to
Yeah.
see the back row there. Yeah. You never know who's going to be there.
Yeah, that's
I don't think I've ever had someone at the show where I was surprised after the show. Well, I did have someone. I own a moving company, so I did have that happen once actually. Someone after the show was like, "Hey, that was fun, good stuff." Like, thanks. Like, not different than I thought you'd be. I just couldn't put two and two together.
uh-huh.
Like, do we know each other? He's like, you don't remember me? You're on my job last Saturday. I'm like, oh like last Saturday, I was a professional movie company owner. Now I'm up there doing dick jokes
Yeah.
about partying and stuff. So and that was uncomfortable. I felt like I should apologize. Like, no, I wasn't. It was my first time open mic. That thrilled me. I don't.
I actually had a thing happen where, so my first time ever hosting at Laughs, I was terrified of dealing with hecklers and stuff. And one night, this lady was heckling me, and I didn't acknowledge her at all. But then she started heckling me during the announcements when I was about to bring the headliner up. And I just go, "Hey, will someone shut that bitch up?" And the crowd laughs and everything. And then I bring up the headliner, and nothing happened or anything. Like, she didn't confront me or anything like that. And then I went in for a job interview the following Monday, and I walk into the office, and the guy like reaches out to shake my hand, and he goes, "Hey, it's the guy that called my mom a bitch Friday night." And I was like, "Oh shit."
Oh wow.
And I was like, "Well, see you later."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, "Nah, she deserved it." And I was like, "All right, cool."
Oh, wow. Management
man.
material.
Yeah, I didn't get the job because that guy died a couple days later, so that was weird. But
Wow.
yeah, he fucking died in a motorcycle accident like a couple days later, and yeah, it's kind of weird. 'Cause my brother and my sister were working for the dude at the time, and yeah, so he died.
It's a crazy story. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah, how weird is that, man? Just went from calling the guy's mom a bitch, and then
right. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that's a tragic story, and the bitch went to the funeral and everything.
yeah. Oh man, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Do you have a time frame for your special at all?
I'm gonna take it on the road, own it, craft it this year.
Okay.
Well, maybe end of the year, beginning of next year. It's already April. Time's flying fast. So
Yeah.
I, yeah, end of the year, beginning of next year.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
You should come down to Albuquerque and do some sets. There's a little club here called Dry Heat Comedy Club, and I'm sure they would book you over there if you want to come down and work on it. I can get you in touch with those people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I go through Albuquerque a lot. I was just there 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no shit. Cool, man.
Always pass through there.
Yeah. Well, hit me up. We'll grab lunch or something sometime. Um,
Cool.
but yeah, I'm excited for your special, man. I'm excited to see what you're working on and stuff. I've always been a huge fan of your writing and performing, and so that's really exciting for me. I'm planning on. I want to record a special this year too. Like, I recorded an album a couple years ago, but I feel like having a solid video would be really cool. Like, 3 camera shoot or something like that. Would be really cool. So
Yeah,
I'm hoping to do that at the end of the year too, at this cool place up in Iowa that I've always liked. So
yeah, that'd be really cool.
yeah, hell yeah.
From, so that'd be cool. Go back to your roots. And
Yeah. My cousin's getting married in the same building in December, so I'm gonna try and line up a gig there the following week. So I think it'd be pretty cool. Buddy Holly played one of his last gigs there, so it's like a cool, like, old school ballroom type place that they're redoing and stuff. So
yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully, when you do your show, you don't hear any crickets.
Yeah.
Buddy Holly joke. Google it.
That's awesome. Well, cool, buddy. I appreciate you doing this, man. So your website is ronferguson.live. Go check out Ron on his website. See where he's going on tour. If he comes to your town, check him out for sure. What about social media? What do you got there?
OnlyFans is Ron.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Comedian Ron Ferguson. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's all on there. The links are on my website, ronferguson.live. So
yeah, I love your site and I love your logo and all that stuff. It's great, man.
Thanks. Yeah, just gotta get out there and get this special done and get the word out and start anew. Just keep on
Hell
plugging
yeah.
along. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, best of luck to you on that, man. That's awesome. It's gonna be great. So, hell yeah, thanks for coming on today, buddy. And we'll definitely talk to you soon. I'll release this on Monday. I'll let you know when it's up. All right.
All right. Sounds good, bro.
All right. Take care, buddy.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. That was Ron Ferguson, old pal of mine. It's cool he's recording a special. It's going to be awesome. He doesn't have any albums or anything like that out, so that'll be really cool. Very good writer. Just does a lot of great wordplay and things like that. Very quick-witted. So yeah, I'm excited for that special. Thanks for tuning in. I got some gigs coming up. They've been scrolling at the bottom. April 21st in Albuquerque at the Hall. Albuquerque Bourbon and Boots, April 26th. B2B Garden Brewery on the 28th. Then May 5th and 6th, I'll be in Trinidad, Colorado at the Chief Comedy Festival. June 7 through 10 at the Looney Bin in Tulsa, Oklahoma. June 24th, Rio Rancho American Legion. And then July 28th and 29th at Laughs Comedy Club in Tucson. And all the details will be at funnyfletcher.com. Ticket links will be on there as well. I think that's it for this week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Jarrett Reddick from Bowling for Soup for the intro music and John Singleton from Anesthesia for the outro music. And their album Throwbacks will be out April 29th or 28th. One of those days. And they got a gig at the Launchpad on the 29th. So check out Anesthesia. They're badass. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.